I literally have no clue how to start this, but anyway, here's the last 7 years of my life, business, work, leading me up to this point right now. For anyone who could be stuck in life, not knowing where you want to go, what job to take, you're a little bit stuck with yourself. There's plenty of that in here, so you might take something good from it. But ultimately, the main reason why I'm making this channel and these videos is a very selfish reason because I want something to look back on. I want to see myself progress, and ultimately, in 10 years' time, it's going to be pretty sick to look at for me traveling agency and seeing how far I've taken my life. And if anyone takes anything good from it, that's a bonus too. But keep in mind that is the main reason why I've made this channel. I do have another YouTube channel teaching you how to do what I do to make money, which is email marketing, completely for free, but it's just targeted at people that own brands. I don't want to sell you a course. I don't want to sell you mentorship. Don't message me, I don't care. And yeah, if you take anything from that channel, then you do as well. So I finished school in 2017, obviously finishing at 16. I went straight into work as an apprentice, working with my dad as a design engineer. My dad was the general manager of the site I was working at. So although I do think I smashed the interview and I do think I've got really good interview skills, I've won every interview that I've had in life. I do always feel like being working in the same firm as my dad, it did kind of like put something on me that I got this job because of who my dad was, but it was a design engineering job and I absolutely hated it. The wage was good for the first year. I was earning about £1,000 a month, which, considering that age, 16 years old, is pretty good. But I was actually not suited to that design role, sitting in an office in that corporate environment. Everything had to be like prim and proper. You were watched over like a hawk, and to me, it just wasn't something I saw myself doing. I ended up switching roles to a maintenance engineer in the same company, whereas I actually really did enjoy that job, and it's something I do look back at and have some fun times. Well, I learned to do machining, fix machines, welding, electrics. It was actually a really good job, and the site had some really interesting stuff, which was quite cool to learn. Eventually, the downfall to this job became I literally had no pay rise from 16 years old all the way to 19. So £1,000 a month at that age, really, when you start getting to 17, 18, you've got cars, you want to go out, you want to take girls out, all these things, money doesn't stretch very far. So I ended up started working every Saturday and Sunday from, I think I started around 17, and I was actually hungover, hanging up my ass every week just to keep enough money to allow me to live like some form of good lifestyle and obviously have enough money to save, do holidays, things like this. So that put me in a good place to obviously learn the work ethic, but I always had that mindset. I never wanted to settle for less. I never wanted to sacrifice something because I couldn't afford it. I never wanted to be in that position. I always wanted to dress nice, smell nice, go to nice places, eat in nice restaurants. And I just had that mindset from a very early age that I would never put myself in a position of regretting not doing something because I'm worrying about money. There's always more money in the world. Money's going to come back, and your main worry should not be spending it, it should be about earning it. So if you focus on earning more, then spending the money is just a minor problem. Like, even growing up, I was making trampoline tutorials, how to do flips and tricks like 13 years ago. I'll see if I can find some screenshots and put them up. I used to do like Call of Duty gameplay. I've got some screenshots of them too. Me and my friend founded a trick shotting clan when we was like in primary school. We got to like 5k subscribers on YouTube from like montages and things we'd done together. Even with today, how big online gambling is, me and my friends would literally be doing this when we was like 14, 15. So it's going back like 10 years now, even before this whole thing was a big craze. But a lot of these things I never really stuck like to see them out and obviously just start reaping the rewards. But I do think looking back, I did quit at the right time, and I do think that all these things never really would have led to anything. In addition to these, my dad was literally a workaholic. Like, even to this day, he wakes up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, would drive all the way to Newcastle. He'll be the first person in the office, last person out. I know he's up like 55 years old. Like, people can't even turn up and they live in Newcastle. They can't even get there before him. And this is the whole mindset he had, and he always put it in me. He was always the first person in the office, last person out of the office. Same with my mum. When I was younger, she'd literally be working 12-hour days in a care home, nights, weekends, Christmas, you name it. She was working it. So from a young age, I literally have been just surrounded by work, and this is the ethic that has been put in me. Even my dad, he worked from the bottom, literally with zero qualifications, all the way to the top of the business at director level. And I've been able to see him take our family from like someone that's doing like below average all the way up to pretty successful and pretty comfortable living, which ultimately I'm very thankful for. And he has definitely put me in a position to obviously be here today. I think everyone in the age of like 18, 19, 20, everyone kind of goes through that day trading phase. I bought some multiple courses, tried signals, all that kind of stuff. One week you'd make money, the next week you blow your account. This happened multiple times, and decided to hang this up. But there's definitely some fun memories with that. I remember being in a cat food factory, working on a shutdown in there, and I'd literally be sitting there trading every time whilst this shutdown's on, and it would just be stinking of cat food. There'd be shit on the floor, dirt, grimy. Yeah, just not a nice thing. But obviously, you're trying to make it, you're trying to trade, and just these things never accounted to anything. I actually ended up leaving that firm that I was working with my dad. The reason being is they wouldn't give me a pay rise because COVID had delayed the certificates being sent out for my completion of apprenticeship. So they was like holding it against me. They was like, oh, you're gonna have to wait like 6 months to a year. And I just wasn't gonna stick around. So I actually ended up going to get another job where I worked out as an electrician, and they put me through college to go and get that qualification as well. So I actually stacked up 2 qualifications, engineering and a qualified electrician. One of the main reasons was obviously earning more money. That is something you can do as an electrician, but there's always a cap. There's always a certain amount of money that you can earn. There's only so many hours in a day that you can do to obviously make that money. I ended up working super long hours as an electrician. My base week was around about £500 a week, so obviously 2K a month. But I used to do a lot of overtime, and I used to work in so shit conditions. I used to work in cold rooms, cold stores at like minus 10, 15 degrees, production plants, cat food factories, dog food factories, slaughterhouses, literally where you'd see cows, turkeys go into the slaughterhouse and then obviously come out in a nice, beautiful sirloin steak, which is going to get put on my plate in a minute. But I will be real, a lot of these times I have had some really good memories, met some great people, and I do think this is something that everyone needs to go through in life. They need to go through some form of shitty job, working in shit conditions, because you do learn to make the most out of a shit like position. A lot of people there, you're all in the same position, you're all waking up early, you're all tired, you all can't be asked. So you just got to make the most of it, which I do think people living in corporate lives, offices that have never experienced this, obviously really just don't understand that concept that it brings to people. And amongst all this, after trading, I started looking into crypto. I actually did hit a really good bull run and make some profit, but I invested 3K of my own money and my total wallet got up to 15. But me being greedy, I left these coins in there thinking they're going to go to the moon and I was going to be the next Jeff Bezos, chilling. All the projects ended up getting either rug pulled or just like disappeared off the face of the earth. So right now, even to this day, I think I've got about 20 quid sitting in my crypto account with all these coins. Some literally you can't even find anymore and they've literally just disappeared. Leading on from that, when I got to about 20, I made my first dropshipping store, which again is like the classic thing. I bought a course from someone called AC Hampton. I think he's still actually posting content today. And I remember paying $997 for this course. The only reason why I remember this is because it was like a crazy discount. It was like listed for 3K and then he sold it for $997. I was like, fucking hell, this is a sick deal. So obviously, being naive to that, you didn't realize that that's how grifters and people like that operate. So yeah, I kind of fell down that trap, but there was actually some good value in there and it did actually help me set up my first store. My first store was selling gymwear during the COVID times when people had plenty of time, people had disposable income and cash. And they actually did start bringing in some good sales. I didn't even run ads for this. I literally used micro influencers, like people that literally had like 4 or 5K followers on Instagram. I'd literally message them on my business account saying like, look, I'll ship you these items, do me a couple posts. And that way I actually ended up scaling to $600 in the first couple of months. I also paid a few meme pages, like 20 quid for a post, but this business flopped so quick. So I was using 2 different sellers, being naive and young. I was using 2 different sellers to like ship the bottoms and the tops, and they'd literally be coming like 2-3 weeks apart. They say, for example, they bought a fucking pink set of joggers and they got a pink top. The pinks would be like completely different. So all this $600 got refunded, and literally everything just got shut down pretty much. And yeah, I went back to the drawing board. All of this, I was still working on site, waking up at 5:30, finishing work at like 5-6 o'clock, both of which I'd have like an hour's drive either side of the day. I'd still go to the gym, I'd still get my tasks done, I'd still carry on working, and even still I managed to like spend a lot of time with my friends, weekends, most of which I was getting pissed up from Friday to Sunday, which is standard for someone of that age, and it's something I actually don't regret doing at all. Most of the time I'd actually be clocking in between 50 and 60 hour weeks. Some cases there was 70 hours, it's literally Monday to Sunday. I've done this multiple times, working for like a couple months straight with no rest, and it actually never really bothered me, to be honest. The other thing that did bother me is hearing people saying they're tired, they can't be asked, things like this, when they're literally doing the bare minimum. They're working like a 40-hour week, sometimes less than this, which is literally the bare minimum. This is what every single person that's obviously trying to make a living is doing, and they're still complaining about it. So yeah, don't expect to get any better. There was a time that I actually worked 26 hours straight. It was in a slaughterhouse, And it was actually for turkey. So it was literally just before Christmas, obviously, when everyone's going to start preparing for turkey. And we had to get all these motors rewired, everything tested and connected. And we ended up staying awake for 26 hours with no sleep, which was definitely rough. And I crashed very big time after that. After my first flop with a store, around about 6 months later, I ended up starting another store, which I didn't even get off the ground, to be honest. So I actually ended up joining a Discord chat from someone called Luke Annetz. He's very big in the e-commerce space, and he's running a course that's like $100 a month where they did, I think it was weekly calls. You'd all get the opportunity to go in there, ask some questions and see where it goes. And there's only one guy from there who was also from the UK, which is my friend Drew. And he actually put me on to something called influencer monetization. I reached out to him on Discord. We ended up working together. He kind of helped me and just saw that I was like a grafter, putting the work in. So we ended up partnering on deals, and I started booking like 3 to 4 calls a week from cold email, cold outreach. Back in that day, I think it was like 2021, cold email was like unstoppable. If you had a good script, you'd literally be booking unlimited calls. Now I'm having to send like 2,000 emails a day. So yeah, we literally partner with influencers. We'd run the brand on their back end. So they'd literally promote the brand, would handle everything from product, fulfillment, design, websites, email marketing, something that I'll get to in a minute. You name it, we did it for all these brands. We actually worked with some very big names. However, nothing really materialized. And it was something that we didn't really know what it was doing. So they didn't really see the return on investment. They just kind of pulled the plug before the ball even got rolling. But it did make us some really good connections with people in the same sort of space, which I will get onto earlier, paid me very big dividends later down in the line. Me and Drew actually ended up losing a little bit of money on this business model, as we actually ended up setting up some custom products for one of our clients. And we got them all designed, made, shipped to him, and he literally just pulled the plug, ghosted us, disappeared. And even though we had contracts in place, we weren't really in a position to actually take someone to court with him being in America. We didn't have the financials, so literally we just had to walk away with our tail between our legs. So me and Drew didn't give up. We hit the drawing board again, and we spoke to a few friends that we saw were making good money at the time, and they were running what's called an OnlyFans management agency. This sounds cliche, but we got in this literally before any courses were sold, anyone even knew about this, and that people actually had this kind of setup for OnlyFans. We was doing this in literally like 2020, 2021. And as I mentioned, yeah, we scaled really quickly. The agency started doing 15K a month pretty consistently. Models were scaling to 10, 15K a month. And this is where I actually learned a lot of my skills in terms of running an agency. So setting up social media accounts, I scaled models to like 30, 50K followers on both TikTok and Instagram. And also learning systems, managing staff. At that time, we had over 6 employees, building SOPs. Obviously, when you take new hires on, they can learn your ways and methods. Finally, the most important thing, I learned how to manage clients and sign them first of all. So with all these skills in place, it really does put you in a good position to start leveraging any kind of agency or even business. Don't get me wrong, you're probably not going to know the ins and outs of things, but you do have a really good basis on how to actually structure a business. We ran this together for around about 8 months, and I ended up making a decision on my part to part ways. There's nothing wrong with the partnership between me and Drew. We're actually still good friends today, and he even still runs the agency as well all these years later. But for me, it just wasn't really fulfilling anything. And I know money shouldn't always be about working on something you enjoy and that's going to fulfill you, but I just really didn't enjoy the business model at all. And there's always something I wanted more from work and business. After parting ways, I was still getting some form of residuals from models that we'd signed previous. I did just kind of take some time to honestly just reflect, hit the drawing board. I would say I'd wasted quite a bit of time. I did travel to a lot of places. I went to Spain, Greece multiple times, Dubai, Bali. I went to Australia twice as well. But it was honestly some of the best times of my life, and it's definitely something I don't regret. Even in Australia, I was living there for 8 months, and I was working a normal job on the tools. And it was honestly one of the best times of my life in terms of how much I appreciated things, appreciated life. Even the small things. I would literally be meeting so many new people, going for beers after work with a few of the lads that I worked with. And generally just was a very nice place and a great place to be around. The fitness industry as well is crazy there. I've never been more motivated in my life to even run, fitness, swim, all these things I'd never catch myself doing in the UK. It really did motivate me in a different way living in Australia. But deep down, I always knew at the end of the day, I wanted more out of life, and the things I was doing really weren't going to pay me that in any way, shape, or form. This is literally the same old bullshit everybody talks about, but they never take action. They're literally half-ass everything they do in life. And literally, they think they're destined, they think they deserve to be something special and have this crazy great life, but they're literally doing nothing different to their next door neighbor. So With that being said, there was no mindset videos when I started doing this stuff. There was no motivational bullshit. I literally started doing this because I wanted to. This is something that I had in my head from being young. Even when I was a kid, I have memories of my granddad giving me like a £50 note for like birthdays and Christmas. And something about it, I'd literally just look at it and I'd never want to spend it. That £50 note, I don't know, it just lit things up in my brain. And I literally never spent these £50 notes. Earlier I mentioned that I lived in Australia for 8 months. As I come back, I was actually planning to live there full time, but I had a few plans change back in the UK, so I ended up coming home, and this is like the fucking ninth millionth 360 my life had done at this point. As I was coming back from Australia, I went to Bali, and when I was in Bali on the way back, I literally hit the drawing board so hard. I was literally digging out every course I had, every connection I'd made across the years, and literally just went balls to the wall from the day I got back from Australia. I worked for two months straight as an electrician. I was self-employed at the time doing my own work, which is making me really good money, but obviously the time I was investing, I could be doing better things pretty much. Money was great. I was earning really good money, but I banked every single penny I earned from that in the first 2 months. Didn't have a single day off, literally worked every single day I could. And this put me in a good position, which I'll get to in a minute. So I literally never left my house at all. People talk about this winter arc that they're going to do this year, whatever. I've done this in the peak of summer while everyone's in beer gardens, out on holiday. I literally locked myself in my house for 6 months straight. Other than to go to the gym, that's the only thing I've done. I quit smoking, quit drinking, didn't socialise for 6 months straight, and I barely even spoke to anyone apart from my mum and dad. Literally, I just focused on the agency. For that whole time, I was literally firing cold emails, cold DMs, cold calling as many people as I could in order to get my first client for the agency. Bearing in mind, this whole time I was still working that whole 2 month period on site as an electrician. I actually landed my first client from Upwork, and it actually turned out to be a really good client. I did enjoy working with him. I literally write his cold emails and set up his cold email infrastructure for $1,500 a month, which is actually a really good deal for your first business deal. And I was actually still working as well at this time, so it was obviously like double wages. But we ended up parting ways, I think it was after 2-3 months, as we was getting positive replies, but in the end, his funnel wasn't really converting people, and I was only really set up there to send his cold emails. But obviously, it was a good learning curve, and I really did enjoy working with him. As I mentioned, cold calling, this actually destroyed my soul. I was calling about 100 to 150 people a day. Hearing no that many times actually batters your brain. But I carried on going, and I actually managed to land one client from this, which ended up paying me £1,500 for a one-time flow build, which for you that don't know, email marketing, you have automated flows. We've done all their designs and automations for their email marketing for their brand, and they just paid me a one-off fee after we've completed, handshake, done, like that. Every call I booked from cold calling literally couldn't afford to invest any money with me, so I was spending all this time. I was getting on the call with people that couldn't even afford my services. So it did feel like a waste of time, but it was very good character building, and I did learn a lot through this stage as well. After the second month, I was still cold emailing, still cold calling. I ended up signing another client on a monthly retainer basis for $1,500 a month, which I still have this client to this day, and we've actually done some really good results for them. And yeah, it's been a blast working with them. And at this point, things started going well. I had 2 clients at this point paying me $3,000 a month, which is a really good earning. And I actually got a message then, I think it was 2 months in after the working straight. I got a message on Friday night at 6 o'clock in the evening that the people I was working for had no work for me on site. So I literally had no work come Monday. They left it till the last minute to tell me, so I had no chance to call people up for extra work. I couldn't even see if there's any work for Monday. But I was sitting there and I wasn't even pissed off. I literally wasn't even angry they'd even done this. This is like the first time I had a green light in life. And for those of you that know Matthew McConaughey, he talks a lot about green lights and how these things come up in life and you should just take it and run with it. And this is the first time I saw a green light in terms of things lining up. So I just signed 2 clients. I just lost my job and work was going really well. The agency was taking off, and in my opinion, this is a sign from the universe to just say, fuck it, hit the ball running, take it and see where it goes. And that's what I did. I spent so many years thinking about what I could do with business, dangling my foot in and out of it. And the thing is, I had seen success. I had a proof of concept. I'd landed clients. I'd worked with people that had millions of followers on social media. And sometimes I do often wonder if I took the leap 2-3 years ago, what position I'll be in right now. But ultimately, I can't change the past, and I actually don't regret any decision I've made in life leading me up to this position. because along the way, I've made some really great memories. I've learned some really valuable lessons as well, which obviously without taking these stupid decisions or things that I've made, I probably wouldn't be in this position right now. And I probably, wouldn't be sitting there talking about things. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of decisions I've made along the way that aren't the right thing to do or the best thing. But in the moment, every time I made a decision, I thought they were right, and I'll always back myself with the decisions I took. Most importantly, I stuck true to myself in terms of I went with what I thought was right, and I didn't fold because I was scared of the outcome. I literally went balls deep with every decision, and I just put 100% effort into everything. And again, it took me to this place, so I can't argue with the things I've made. So as I mentioned, I was sitting there making around about 3K a month, which is actually really good, really good wage. But I wanted more, and I kept pestering one of my friends, which I mentioned earlier. I connected with someone and it's going to benefit me later in life. I literally used to harass this person honestly, like every other day. I was like, bro, can you mentor me? Can you consult my business? I want to scale. I need to scale quicker. He'd be like, oh, I'm not really into this at the minute. Like, I don't know, da da da. And bro, I literally used to be following him up, wanting to pay him money. It's usually the other way around, but this is a point I want to lead to in a minute. But I've known him for years. He runs a successful email marketing agency, so he's someone that you really want to work with. Especially in today's climate, you have gurus, grifters, people that are just trying to take your money and ultimately just give you some bullshit system that really isn't going to work or make you any money. And if you are looking at getting into business and you're thinking about getting a mentorship, don't literally just keep throwing shit at a wall until something sticks. And what I mean by this is just pick a business model, run with it until you start signing some clients. Then you can start thinking about asking for mentorship. The reason why I scaled so quickly is because I already had something to work with. I had an outreach system, I had clients, I had systems in-house. So he could come in. The changes that he was making in my business were more impactful and allowed me to scale a lot quicker compared to people that are going to go out there and pay 5K a month, whatever you're going to pay, to some person that's going to give you a mentorship that they've just got some success manager off Upwork that's going to give you some script written from ChatGPT to help you get clients. Like, it's literally a waste of time. You will only get a benefit from this if you have something of substance to work from. Don't go into this mentorship with literally nothing. You will literally come out with nothing. Again, the simple quote is, if it was that easy to do, everyone would be doing it. And this is very true. I would say literally only 1% of these people that sign up to these gurus courses are actually coming out of anything or being anything of substance. Most people end up just becoming glorified freelancers that are making still a poor wage, but hiring multiple clients that aren't paying them very well. So yeah, and in addition to that, vet the mentor, make sure they have a successful agency, and make sure that they're in that kind of niche you're in. As I mentioned, this mentorship held me accountable, give me fast answers to questions, which helped me scale very quick. And again, in this, I've actually gained someone who I'd call a close friend to this day. And even though we are competition, it's good to have some healthy competition, and it gives you something to work towards. So coming from this, I actually did end up really, really coming out on the good side. After the mentorship, I've literally stepped up outreach. We're doing it on a very high level now. Service delivery is 10 out of 10. All of our clients are staying with us and they're getting some really good results. We're hiring A-star team players, and more importantly, we're getting higher paying and better clientele. We're actually working with brands that have been partnered with Selfridges, Disney, Featured in Health, which is one of the world's biggest health and wellness stores, and also some of the founders are featured in the Forbes list. So as I mentioned earlier, I always wanted more out of life, and this is something that I kind of meant by working with brands and having some meaningful impact on their brand. So the results we're actually bringing to their brand is very impactful. It's actually changing their brand, and it's something we're working towards to keep growing with them, and something I really enjoy. So within this 6 months, I actually ended up scaling my agency to over 10K a month in monthly recurring revenue, and it's only getting bigger since. So every month, literally since starting my business, I have topped my last month's profits, revenue every single month, and I'm going to keep striving to do this every month after. Scaling to over 10K a month in 6 months is a very quick time, and don't get me wrong, there's people out there that have made more money than that, made it quicker, but ultimately this is an accumulation of 7 years of failed businesses, dumb decisions, books read, courses, mentorships, cold calling for endless hours, cold email, really stuck in the trenches. And people look at these 6 months transformations and they don't realize the work that's gone into it behind it. As I mentioned before, people have made 10K a month very quickly, or even more than that. But I do really think if you stick to it, you can obviously get to somewhere you want to be. I think the key takeaways from this video is, even my lessons and stuff like that, you're never going to know when the right time to jump is, and you're never going to know what the right decision is. All you can ever do is put 100% effort into everything you're doing, and the world will take you on its course. If it's not meant for you, the world will spit you out, and yeah, you'll be on to the next one. Don't let stuff get you down. Just keep moving forwards. Keep that end goal in mind, and life will take you on a really interesting path. A friend of mine always used to tell me, we're already successful, but we're waiting for time to catch up. And still to this day, I'm still chasing my goals, and I'm still chasing myself in 10 years' time. So 2026 is going to be a very pivotal point for me in all areas of life, to be honest. We're going to be leveling up the travel, leveling up the agency, and God knows what else is going to come my way. We have some crazy goals for the agency in 2026, and I've set myself the goals, and I'm going to do everything in my power to hit these goals. Fuck, it's going to be a good video to watch in 10 years' time. Yeah, peace.